Hello, my name is Steve Gwilym. I'm the Chief Investigator for the HUSH trial, which is a trial looking into the most effective treatment for humeral shaft fractures in adults. You'll see from my logos that we've had a liberal dosage of marketing involved in this study. And you may find yourself bizarrely drawn to some subliminal messaging throughout this video. So this study is looking into the best way to treat adults with humeral shaft fractures. And this is our story so far. Here's the punchline, if you like. So you'll see that our study was delayed due to the COVID pandemic, and therefore our recruitment started late. As it stands at the moment, we've recruited 27 people, and that is quite a way away from our intended recruitment line. But if we shift our line to a delayed start point and a little bit of enthusiasm and romance, then we're not a million miles off this recruitment line. In actual fact, things are definitely picking up, which is great. Today, I'm going to talk to you about some of the barriers we're experiencing, and hopefully we can nip those in the bud and get back on track, or even better than on track. So the interesting thing is that we've recruited a lot of, we screened a lot of patients, and actually if we recruited half these, would be very happy. And the reason that we're having problems is because a number of them have been excluded. And when we look at the reasons why they've been excluded, predominantly by the surgical team, it's either, the reasons given are either because they are not fit for surgery, although the details of that are down to interpretation, or the fact that the surgeon feels that they're not appropriate for brace or not appropriate for surgery. That's really difficult because the evidence suggests that you can't predict that. And so we're going to talk through a couple of those bits and say what we're going to do next. So I think the only reason we can think of why you might justifiably make those statements is if you had a surgical crystal ball, in which case I'm sure everyone would like to get hold of one. In the absence of that, then I'll tell you what the evidence shows. And if we say that we can't recruit these patients because surgery is best for them, because the fracture is too displaced or the wrong configuration, or it's tricky, it's going to take too long, then I would say to you that there's no evidence to support that position. All of the trials that have shown that non-operative treatment does well have taken all comers. They haven't filtered out any difficult fractures, or indeed in the original papers, things like open fractures, although we're not proposing that as part of this study. And also the other argument we hear is the fact that people will do better with surgery. This fracture will do better with surgery. This patient needs an operation. And again, there's no evidence to suggest that's the case. And as I say repeatedly to people, the fact that in order to get £1 million+ out of the NHS, this study has to both convince people far more intelligent than me, at least 40 of them, that this is a good idea. And more importantly, we have to present the evidence, and they then search for additional evidence to see if we're telling them lies. Evidently, we are not. And so they believe that there is no good evidence to show that's the case. So that's I'd suggest that's a good starting point. The counterpoint is the fact that sometimes people are told you don't need surgery because a splint is best for you. And again, the two most common reasons are the fact that the patient isn't fit for surgery. I think that if you applied that rule to hip fractures a decade ago or 2 decades ago, it might be valid. We now know that that's very rarely the case, and certainly part of our conversations with the anaesthetic team are to ask them to specifically push back if they think there's a risk that is reversible, but there's no evidence that those comorbidities will affect your perioperative mortality or morbidity. So I think that we have to really question that knee-jerk reaction, which is just the fact that I don't really fancy it, or surgery, a splint will do just fine. On the point of this fracture will do just fine, again, I refer to that previous point about surgery. There's no evidence that's the case, and I'm afraid you really can't predict about what those people are, how they're going to do, unless you have your own case series of more than 100 patients with their outcomes and split between those two treatments, which if your admin's anything like mine, is going to be extremely unlikely. So I'd encourage you to to take a true equipoise point, because otherwise we are going to get to the end of the trial and have the same criticisms as other randomized trials where they say, well, all the difficult fractures were excluded or all the simple fractures were excluded. And that again will sort of effectively be a waste of our time. So we really have to try and maintain a position of equipoise if we can. So these are our hero sites to start with. So we've had lots of recruitment or lots of site initiation visits, trying to get place up and running. And there's been some really good activity. There's evidence that all these sites are screening well and recruiting, albeit with the caveat that sometimes patients are excluded through predominantly surgeon choice. We've got a number of other sites who are chomping at the bit in the blocks, poised to go, and the trials team are now going around those to increase the recruitment sites and hopefully get back some of the time that we lost both through COVID and through a general slow start. So thank you for that. I'd encourage you all to participate. If you want to get hold of me, then do so. And we're, as part of the trials group, there's an active WhatsApp group to support people in their decision making about whether or not people are or are not eligible. And there's a large community of surgeons, so no one's going to get railroaded into doing something they don't want to do. Thanks very much.